Hi guys, so it's about time I got my shit together again. Sorry, Red Dead going on in the background, a bit of a game of poker. So I'm resetting up the chiller, and I have done a bit of it, and then I thought, I'll do a little video on it for you, in case you're interested in doing one yourself. So, just show you the mapping of it, I guess. At the moment all I've done's the chilled loop. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to have just a water cooling setup if I want to. Now, I'd rather have it go from reservoir to pump res rad combo that I've got here, external, and then to CPU. But instead I've just got it connected up to the chiller loop. So if the chiller's not running, I can have this running and cooling the water, a rather large body of water with a 60 mil wide, 240 rad. It's a UT60, so it's pretty good. So that's just doing that loop now, which I've run, tested, and all that sort of stuff. Found a leak and sorted it out, sort of. So then it's going to go down to these two, which is a dual pump top, but they're separate pump top loops. So it's not a combined. It's not running redundancy or combining head pressure or anything like that. So that's going to be connected to these switches, which will turn on and off what I want. One will be for normal CPU block for the chiller, and the other one will be for whichever memory block I'm using as well. So I can have that separately, or it can be a graphics card or whatever, or set up another pump just to do the card itself or whatnot. But it's time to get the 10900K on there. I think with the temperatures I've had, with it being summer here and whatnot, with my lovely C18 4600 kit of RAM, I haven't been able to really have the fun I want to have. So setting that up, I'd love to go for some 32M Super Pi and see if I can compete with the 7700K I had before. I just don't think it's going to get to the clocks with the voltage. But what else? Yeah, well, the 3070 Vulcan, if I can get some better processor and CPU performance, so I can maybe try and compete with some of the HEDT 12 core, 16 core stuff out there. I'll try anyway. What else do I want to get done? Oh, yeah, I'll just go through a few graphics cards as well. I mean, hardware bots smashing everyone's scores out unless they've got a validation link to 3D Mark, and I probably did it more than some, but I had a couple of great Vega cards, certainly one good one, very good one, and I don't have it anymore, and a couple of those scores have been gotten rid of, so I would have loved to have run those again, but well, I've got a few other cards, so let's see how we go. Okay, kind of at the next stage after much farting around. Okay, so when you do your chiller and whatnot, just be careful of your levels and your heights and whatnot, of course. I cut it pretty fine because this is the last thing to fill in the way I've done the setup. So you're going to fill the res first, or fill through the fill port here as well if you want for this one, but that water's going to come down through here, fill the fill port here. Basically, that in port, you're going to want to have it angled so that it can go in along with the tube on an angle so that it's flowing in that direction. And same with this, I had to give it a bit of a bleed, hold it up and down. Notice it's got it sort of resting on there predominantly. Okay, other things of note. Yeah, so filled the res, everything still taps all off and everything. Don't worry about this. And once it's connected all up and I think I'm happy with everything and whatnot, then I double, triple check everything. And then I'll open, there's a valve down here. This is valved up to the max. So valve down here, the two taps here had to come open. And I had to open this one here, which is the in back from the chiller. Yeah, make sure things like that are off. And have that closed initially when booting up, because in case you muck up something and you wants to come out here, because you'll notice that it will do that. If I'll show you. I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot here. Yeah, no, of course. Didn't do it. Did it to me last time, but... Oh, that's right, I've got this turned off. Okay. Okay, so if I open that valve, keep it careful. See the water come up straight in there as soon as I let the air in. Obviously I'm at the same height as the water over here, indicator that side. So it's always going to want to equalise, isn't it, as quickly as it can. So just be mindful. So what's going to happen is keeping all the cooling. So if I want to run, don't want to run chiller and I want to run water cooling, that'll do that. So I'm keeping all the cooling onto one loop, whereas before I had the pump res be one of the pumps for the loop before CPU. I want to keep it just so this switch will do the left side, that one will do the right side, and this one will be CPU, this one will be memory or graphics or whatever you want it to be. All sort of wide up at the back there. And hoping to incorporate these EK plastic quick disconnects because they're pretty handy to use. They're better than the metal ones as far as I'm concerned. Now I'm going to use 2D memory block. I'm going to probably give that a lapping. I do think this is flat, this thing. This is a Raystorm Pro, whatever the hell it was called. Expensive bloody thing at the time. It was the first water block I ever owned. And quite frankly, I think it's pretty useless, but I've used liquid metal on the underside of it, as you can see. It's been sanded down to it's definitely a very flat surface, one of the flattest surfaces I've got, along with the heat killer block that came out of the factory, super flat. So the reason I've got these fittings done the way they are, and you're probably thinking, well, that's a bit of a stupid way to do it. For my Z97 SoC LN2 board, it doesn't have holes for a cooler. So with it strategically mounted pipe tubing wise and stuff like that, afterwards I've got copper heatsink blocks and stuff like that. I can plonk something on top to try and give it a bit of weight, and there's a flat top on it, so I'll leave that as it is probably for the time being. Got these, go down around it, and I'll use a LN2 mounting back plate and bracket. Yeah, it's always good to have an excess of like all sorts of fittings, you know, these Y ones. What's a bit different? Yeah, you know, like bleed off tubes and things like that I quite like to have. I need to buy some more both-ended females, like in on both sides, stuff like that. Careful when you buy your tubing to fit your fittings. This is it called? 3/8. 3/8? Not 3/8. The other weird one. Anyway, there's a standard size, and that ain't it. I got the tubing for the standard size though, didn't I? First water loop I ever did. Up inside a Cooler Masters Stormtrooper bloody case. Hardest thing I've ever done, computer-wise. It was get the tubing onto these fittings up inside the case. Don't do that to yourself. Alright, onwards and upwards. As you can see, it's about time I got this sorted out anyway. So the timing was probably ideal. Yeah, it's just a matter of getting through it, isn't it? You know, it's all very systematic. I'm just a go slower, slow going kind of guy. When I get off and running, I know how to make a mess of things. Today's no different. There's the gutted out shell of the old D900, or 900D, whatever it is. The Apex, I never did do a kind of an unboxing. I was too excited to get it in the bloody case, but okay, so that's running 10900K, and then we've got a selection of the assorted B dies, T4's 3600 C14, 4600 C18, AO, sorry, they're A2s, these are AO PCB, these ones with the EK old school copper heat spreaders. They're 4133 AO PCB there. So a little bit sport for choice. There's what am I forgetting? Oh, there's a single stick of that. Who cares? And then I've got you know, some 3200C16 32 gig running in that machine. Blah blah blah. I can switch them out and have a play if I want. That's that alloy stuff I did the other videos on. Anyway, let's see what happens next. Well, here you go, blunders as well as successes. Had this underneath down here, a slight little drippy leak from there that I didn't notice that went all over the tabletop and everything. So I wish I'd seen it sooner. Hopefully I'm on top of it now. So while you run loops for a while before you power anything up, I connected the loops up and I'm doing the rest of the build, and I've been running them on and off, and there you go, sprung a leak. So it appears I've got some minute hairline leaks in this pump top. It's a bloody shame because it was pretty reliable. I was looking forward to using it again. Even a bit of electrical tape on there didn't do me any favours, so I think I'm just going to have to use the pump out of the build, wherever I've put that. I think it's in the kitchen here. So I might just have to do it ad hoc, temporary. Bugger. Geez, when you dink, that not dink stuff sucks. Okay, so with the stand-in pump for the time being, until Old Faithful gets replaced. Bummer about that was this is not a redundancy dual pump. It's each pump's individual. That's how I wanted it. So anyway, there's the sexy looking bloody image thing on there. I didn't realise it had little flashing lights on the card too until I looked now. It's a little bit nicer than having too much RGB bling in my opinion. Unlike this memory, which I'm dying to get the spreaders off. God, it's ugly. Ugh. I cringe every time. Don't cringe when I look at my Apex though. I do love that thing. So yeah, it's just sort of I've got to watch dew point at the moment with summer here. Just popped it on 19 degrees. It's going down just to get it sort of a bit light. I just want to know where I'm going to be hitting a wall at the moment. I don't even know what the humidity is here. Right, well this is how dink I really am. I'm even going to tell you how big a muppet I really am. So, nothing wrong with this. Something wrong with me. It might have been a lack of O-ring support in there or something for it before. Yeah, something like that. So, back to plan A. That's going back into replace. And back to the original plan. I've wasted enough time as it is. Being an idiot. Fair bump, play on. So I got out the heat gun and took the spreaders off the 4600 C18 B die that I've got and put on the old school EK copper heat spreaders that everyone wishes they still made, I guess. They are very heavy. Anyway, just get that into there, into that loop. That puppy on there doesn't leave a lot of room with the M.2. So onwards and upwards. Okay, so the memory block is now on. I did a little bit of a lapping on that. It was not flat. And so the tubing's all been installed. So I'm running leak test, testing, make sure I don't get any little dribbles down there. I don't need that. Obviously there's more to go. I mean, there's insulating the tubing. Whatever board's being used should really be insulated. This is more dangerous than doing LN2 when you go sub-zero or sub-ambient into dew point. But the next step will be firing it up with control of temperatures. The B die should not be temperature crashing or anything like that now. 4800 C14 should not be a problem, but let's see. Alright, so this is the ignition order. Just put that in for argument's sake, we don't really need the noise, but that would be the first thing that you would do when you walk up to said system. Then, turning that one on. Pump for the chiller loop. Or the pump, that's actually just the power for this. Puts power to the fan here to cool down that PCB as well. On with the main pump. On with the fan if you're just air cooling and you're not having the chiller on. Leave that off if you're sub-ambient, because it'll probably more likely heat the water back up again. Come down over here, if I'm just doing CPU, that one. Graphics or memory as well, that one. So the memory's now done. Water block on there after lapping. So I've got quick disconnects at these two, so they can come off there. Now you might say, why aren't these going straight? If you've done this sort of thing before, you'll understand why. Yeah, great for insulating, all that sort of stuff, but when it comes time to actually disconnect them, nowhere to go. So you've got to leave yourself a little bit of leeway there. So these drop straight down. That's a dual pump, but it's two singles together in a dual top. So it runs them individually, not in redundancy, which is great. Valve here, which was kind of unnecessary, but I needed the length anyway, and it just gives me another, it's not very restrictive, that one, so it just gives me another point where I can save my own backside. Obviously it taps here, save you there. Flow rate's not that great through this, and on the old pump I thought maybe I haven't done the speed underneath the Eisbecker dial. But with the other pump, different pump on there, same sort of speed. So I think the block itself, which I gave a good clean, white vinegar and stuff, but I just feel like it had a little bit of particular problems, you know, those particles in there. One of the good things is the water block, when it's cold, it's sitting up against the M.2 riser NVMe or SATA card, so it keeps that cool as well, which is really good. So the chiller loop is kind of not, well, it's not finished, because obviously I've got to insulate all this tubing. Some of it's heater hose, some of it's normal stuff there. So I've got to get some insulation around all those. But I did have a bit of a go. It has made my DDR4 a lot more malleable than the summer temperatures over here. And I did a CPU chiller run at 5.6 C14 at 4600 only, just sort of as a starting spot, and it was more efficient than I thought it'd be for what it was. It's not sort of pushing the limits by any stretch. I'm sort of sitting perched there at 17th, and most of the run above is a bunch of mates, so it could be fun having a bit of a run after their tails. So Chispy, I'm coming at you next, bro. Look, I think that'd be the end of this video. There's plenty to do around here. There's just heaps to do around here, so I'll get onto a bit of it, and I hope you enjoyed understanding the chiller build a bit more. I'm not sure I explained everything properly. Anything I left out, the bleeder valve tubes I discussed in there. Obviously I can connect something else down off here if I needed to. I've got two taps over there to do another in out, so I could do CPU, memory, graphics all at the same time. This will cater for when I want to put X99 or something over here with quad GTX 580s, which I've got sitting there with water blocks on them as well. But that's it. I'm glad you've come along to have a bit of a watch, and if you've stuck around this long, you're kind of a bit of a pinhead and hardware freak like me, I guess. Most people have probably died off ages ago, so congratulations if you made it this far. You might as well give me a sub then, eh? Till next time, Extreme Overclocking Yobbo out. I never get my own name right. And don't forget that I'm Dink if you're Dink. Dink 'em.